you are more likely to fumble right before your blessing comes, right before the desire, the prayers are answered, right before it's about to get good. This is when you will be tempted the most. Last video, I read to you in the book of Mark about the blind man. I'm going to read it again in case you didn't see the video yet, but I need to make sure to point out something to you, so stay with me. And it's Mark chapter 10, verse 46. And they came to Jericho, and he was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a great multitude, Bartimaeus and a blind beggar. Bartimaeus, a blind beggar. Okay, so he was blind, but he was also a beggar. The son of Timaeus was sitting by the roadside, and when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stopped and called him. And they called the blind man, saying to him, Take heart, rise, he is calling you. And throwing off his mantle, he sprang up and came to Jesus. And Jesus said to him, What do you want me to do for you? And the blind man said to him, Master, let me receive my sight. And Jesus said to him, Go your way. Your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight and followed him. But he was a blind beggar. So the blind man's name is Timaeus. He was sitting by the roadside. Imagine that he's blind, and it was like he can't see Jesus, but he can feel Jesus' presence. Okay, he can't see Jesus, just like many of us, we can't see Jesus, but we can feel Jesus' presence, and we're crying out for something. We're begging God for something. And people are trying to tell us this is not going to happen. You're too old to have a child. There's a woman on my YouTube page, on my TikTok. She just had her first child at 46. Everybody's saying, no, you're too old to get married. You're too old to start that business. You're too old. They're trying to silence you, but you know Jesus is present. Jesus is present. Jesus wants to answer your prayer, but you need to decide on whether or not you're going to continue to call out to him. You need to decide if you're going to keep asking, keep seeking him, because the minute you give up, they've already won. There's so many people I've met here in Atlanta, and it pains me. If I could do anything in the world, it's just to be a matchmaker. But I don't know too many people to connect. And that's really my desire, to be a matchmaker, because I'm so sad to see so many women who are beautiful, who are kind, and they're like, Barbara, I can't find a man. I can't find a man. I'm like, well, I don't have that one either. But I'm so peaceful and content, and I know that God is doing something on my behalf, that I'm not worried about them. And you can really see that they really desire a relationship. But the one thing they all have in common is that there's no good man around. And I was like, that's what you believe. You believe that there's no good man around, so you're not going to meet anyone. There are some lousy ones. I've met some vagabonds, but for the most part, there's 8 billion people on this planet. Are you telling me that God cannot take one of them and make a spouse for you? But you don't believe. You've already subscribed to them. You've allowed them to shut you down. You've allowed them to shut you up, that you're not even willing to ask God. That's what Timaeus was like, no, I'm not going to let you silence me. He cried out all the more. And many rebuked him, it says, verse 48. Many rebuked him, telling him to be silent, but he cried out all the more. You have to keep crying out to God. Now, I'm not telling you to go on top of the rooftop and scream at the top of your lung, Jesus, Jesus. You don't want to make a scene. A lot of people do that. They go to church and they start wailing and screaming like that's going to do anything. No, you go to your prayer closet. When you wake up in the morning, you start giving God thanks. When you go to bed at night, you give God thanks. Say, Lord, thank you for being the magnificent God that you are. I know you heard me pray today, and I'm going to keep praying this prayer until you answer me. But I am not going to give up. Timaeus did not give up. If you really want anything in life, you cannot give up until you get that definite no. Until all the signs that this ain't gonna happen, meaning you are sick in bed, you're about to pass out. You're on your last leg. Until that day comes up, don't give up. Whatever you asking God for, don't give up. Don't let them silence you. Don't listen to those podcasts that are talking about the red and blue pills, telling you that you're never going to be successful. You're never going to marry. Don't let them silence you. Don't let them silence you. I'm telling you, when you keep pursuing God, he's going to show you. He kept pursuing Jesus. And Jesus said, your faith has made you well. Excuse me, what did he say? Yeah, your faith has made you well. Go your way. Your faith has made you well. Don't let them silence you. Whatever you asking God for, don't let them silence you. Keep showing up, keep knocking, keep seeking God. Eventually, you will get your sight and you will see what you've been praying for manifest right before you. Don't let them silence you. Thanks for watching. Bye.